Alright, turn on the local recording. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Dailymotion Cup. Spawning in the top left position as the blue Zerg player. It's been a long day. Coming in from Team Acer, it is Scarlett. And she is up against this gentleman in the bottom right position. Spawning as the red Protoss player from Team Incredible Miracle, it is Squirtle. I believe Incredible Miracle actually recently announced they'll be part of Kespa for the next season of Pro League. So, random facts to keep an eye out on. Let's see what these players want to do here. Squirtle's first pylon looks like it's set up to be pretty much gateway expand. He can wall off in the event that Scarlett wanted to go for something along the lines of a very fast spawning pool. Could be safe with a wall off of a gateway and a cybernetics core, at least in the mid-game stage. One of the few weaknesses of the gateway expand tends to be the speedling timing attack. At least I've kind of seen that pop up. The last game that immediately comes to mind is Bly vs. Naniwa from the Fragbite Masters, where just kind of abused the gateway opening of not having that fast wall, because a lot of players try to put the gateway right next to the Nexus, but there is the gateway. In Scarlett, looks like she wants to go with the hatchery first. Drone is moving down. The probe gets here right in time for Squirtle. Perfect timing on that probe to actually deny the 15 hatch, and Scarlett will start the spawning pool. A little bit of fear now, and ooh, there's the block with the pylon. Kind of interesting that the pylon block was put with this gateway. The lack of gas from Squirtle makes me believe that we're very likely to see him just go for the Nexus with no gas and a gateway. He can still get the fast Zealot for some level of defense, and then move up the tech a bit more quickly, but there is the cancel on the pylon. And this probe is still here. This is a very annoying probe. Squirtle is... It's actually kind of impressive how long he's been able to delay this hatchery from being placed by Scarlett. It's easily one of the most annoying things as a Zerg player you can deal with. These harassing probes they're annoying for everybody, but there is the Nexus also coming in at the same time, only about 5 seconds behind. Scarlett does immediately get the scout off, so she can basically take a third hatchery right now. This gateway is done, but there's not really much that can be done with it. Squirtle's just going for the double gas as a follow-up, and still will be able to get a pretty fast tech setup. Thankfully, because Scarlett isn't bringing any aggression in this early phase, he can kind of get away with not having any units or a wall up with a cannon at this phase. But there are two Zerglings making their way across the map now. Worst comes to worst, Squirtle can wall off the main base, and this Nexus won't be killed before Mothership Core gets out. Excuse me, gets out onto the field. Still no gas from Scarlett. Kind of waiting to see when she'll send a drone to the third base. If she does, or if she maybe has something else up her sleeve. These two Zerglings are coming across the map still. Trying to see if there's anything to be seen, any conquests to be had. But the cybernetics core is wrapping up, and Squirtle has 100 gas. So there's the mothership core, and this is all still very standard from Squirtle. This isn't the most unusual build ever seen. It's a interesting greedy way of going about the gateway expand, but Squirtle's relatively safe. This Nexus is going to get chewed on a little bit, but nothing really consequential to the Protoss player. So the mothership core will come out. These Zerglings won't be here much longer. And Scarlett's just pumping out drones. Still no third base. Trying to get out a decent queen count first. Opening up with 3 queens before that third hatchery. So we'll have access to a lot of units. And just wants to drone up heavily off of 2 bases. And it's always interesting when Zerg players take the third base versus a Protoss that expands, because the gateway expand almost kind of begs for you to not be greedy with taking those bases. And Scarlett's not being greedy with the bases. But the lack of that gas really gives off that vibe that Squirtle's in a nice position because of this. I'm not 100% sure that Scarlett really recognizes how greedy the opening was. I mean, the Overlord did get in and scout it, and the Overlord's been for the most part, removed from the equation at this point in time. It's just kind of interesting to see the way that this whole opening has developed, because I think this is a nice position for Squirtle. He's starting to get out of sentry. He's moving across the field with a few units to do a bit of a poke. And that's all it is, really. It's just a gut check. There's only 1 gateway on the field. Squirtle's just now adding on 2 more. So with the units that are coming out, hoping to force a few Zerglings. Zergling speed has begun. There's 8 of them on the way. But a Zealot and 2 Stalkers, he can actually deny this third base easily, but there is no third. So Squirtle's going to be a little bit baffled. He won't have anywhere to really try to claw an early advantage by dealing any damage. And that's it. There's just 3 queens here to hold the front with a few Zerglings, and that should be more than enough. As I said, there's only 1 gateway behind this. 2 more are coming in about maybe 20 or so seconds with that warp gate finishing up, but even that is still 20 seconds away on its own. double evolution chamber coming in. So Scarlett could go for some sort of low econ fast hive play with 1-1 and maybe move into quick ultralisks, or can just immediately get to work on roach upgrades for a more roach hydra based mid game. But there it is, zergling upgrades, and I do like this from Scarlett quite a bit. It's not the most popular choice from Zerg players versus Protoss, I'd say. A lot of Korean players still go for roach hydralisk, at least in the games that I've seen. But there's the +1 attack as well, and sentries being warped in out here for Squirtle. It kind of feels like it's a very aggressive play from the Incredible Miracle Zerg, but you have to consider, wow, this probe is hide-and-go-seek champion, but I don't think he'll be able to hold that title much longer. It's important to consider that this Mothership Core, with the option of recall, can always bring these units back. And I think Squirtle's starting to feel that there's something weird going on. He starts the Twilight Council, and +1 is actually still on a pretty reasonable pace, so there could be a +2 blink timing with this setup, but there's so many Zerglings coming in. There's the lair as well. Scarlett, very comfortable sitting on 2 bases. The Zerglings try to pressure the front. This sentry is holding strong, though, and there's the recall. Brings everything back. Will the sentry be saved? No, does manage to pick off a sentry, so that's quite nice. Nothing really crazy for Scarlett, but Hallucinated Phoenix comes in, wants to see what's going on, kind of wondering, well, where are your units? What do you actually have on the field? And it honestly doesn't look like too much. Scarlett will pick off the only pylon on the map for Squirtle. So Squirtle's harass completely shut down, partially by Scarlett just not actually doing anything that's vulnerable to harass, taking that very late third. And here is the infestation pit. This could be that fast hive play that I was mentioning with the Zergling upgrade. It's actually phenomenal. If you go for a quick Ultralist, you can just bowl over any real gateway army. The counter to that is Immortals and Archons, but now Squirtle's getting ready to take his own third base. The weakness of Scarlett's build, I mean, she could go for a mass Ling attack to try to shut this down. With the Zergling upgrades, the +1 attack on the Zealots doesn't really do anything, so it is difficult, mostly because of the force field. Scarlett doesn't want to lose a bunch of Zerglings for free, and with good force fields, if they were locked in properly onto the Zealots without any capability of running around or microing, that's where things get a bit dicey. And now we see the third hatchery finishing up for Scarlett, so she's pretty much not really been abated in her attack at all. There's actually infestors coming out, and we don't even have pathogen glands research. There's a hive as well, so I assume these infestors are purely defensive because, I mean, getting them without the pathogen glands upgrade kind of begs that you want to hold on to them for a little bit of time. So this must be Scarlett's way of saying, I'm going to hold on. If an attack comes to Scarlett's third base, the goal has to be to get a fungal growth or two down on top of all of the sentries and zealots and just bring the Zerglings in and kill them with the extra damage added by the fungal growth. Now, Zerglings are trying to press for a counterattack as the army moves out. The Forge gets taken down. Will not be able to get that +2 attack. Very important since these zealots will no longer have any level of upgrade advantage versus the Zerglings. At the same time, here comes the shove. About 6 or so sentries with the Archon and some charge lots pushing into the third base. There's still nothing here, though. There's nothing here to kill. A Zealot tries to give chase to the Infestor, but there's nothing there either. And Scarlett gets into Squirtle's natural expansion. The mineral line, a couple of probes taking hits. These Zealots having some trouble on their own. The third hatchery is eliminated. There is a recall available, and it will be used. Brought back into the main base to try to defend against this. Sentries immediately getting shoot at by Scarlett. That hive is also complete at the same time. Third base still standing strong. Scarlett streaming more Zerglings in, trying to find a position to get some damage done, but nothing really to be found. This third base for Squirtle is so nice, and he still has some units here on the field. These Zerglings might try to give chase, get a bit of a surround on these. There's still one sentry there. Sentry's, of course, very valuable. But the infestors are coming across at the same time. There's the fungal growth just to help kill these zealots a little bit faster. Giving chase, though. The zealots are trying to get on top of these infestors. Will pick off one of them, and Squirtle's just pushing out with tons of units. Scarlett's trying to just put out a pretty big froth of units off of 2 bases, but I'm kind of wondering how long this economy is going to last. The third base is underway once again. Many spine crawlers actually set up for defense by Scarlett to hold any kind of push that could come in from Squirtle. We'll be able to grab a few more of these zealots. That +2 attack has started once again, and Scarlett is making another infestation pit. That's actually funny. It's one of the classic mistakes that Scarlett often makes is she will build, I think I've seen the tops, I think I've seen her build 4 infestation pits once. She canceled the 4th one, but had 3 overall. But the Ultralist Cavern is that choice. It's very fast. I think the first time I ever saw this was Vibe from Root do this. An Archon's stuck. An Archon cannot fit through the gateway in the ramp here on Belshir. That's a lesson, a life lesson for all of you Protoss players watching. There's nothing it can do. Double Hallucinated Phoenix Scout. trying to see what's going on, and he does see the Ultralisk Cavern, so he should have a relative idea of what's going to be coming from Scarlett, but a huge froth of Zerglings are now crossing the map. This is where things get funky. A good position on this army could spell doom and gloom. I'm kind of wondering if Scarlett wants to wait for the Ultralisks, though. The only funny thing about the waiting for Ultralisk part is that she doesn't have any money to build Ultralisks with, so it's just pure Zerglings. 3/3 is coming in, as well as the Adrenal Glands. Adrenal Glands is actually just about done now. So if that army does get on top of the Protoss Force, it can do a lot of damage. It's just important to consider that Archon's one-shot Zerglings, even with +1 attack, that's enough to just instantly kill a very small clump of Zerglings. And Scarlett's moving out the Spine Crawlers, playing a very turtley defensive style, and it does feel weird. I'm not going to lie. It's not something that I feel comfortable trying to predict how fights will come out. It's 100% down to the positioning. The fungal growths have to hit absolutely everything. The Zerglings have to get a perfect surround on everything because the Colossi and the Archons will just completely demolish the Zerglings. Once these Ultralisks get out, though, everything else pretty much becomes null and void. Double Immortal production, however, has begun, and this is really where Squirtle's army is going to find its strength. The Immortal's just so good versus the Ultras, and now stepping onto the creep, wants to push towards the 4th base of Scarlett. At the same time, that Archon that was stuck in the main has now been placed in the Warp Prism and be coming in for an Archon Stalker drop. Not something you typically see, but the main army is actually going to engage. A recall used, and Scarlett says, well, I can't really do much here. Squirtle, see you later. Now in the main base, just going to town on these drones. That Archon, 20 kills on this bad boy. You can see just how good Archons are versus these small Zerg units. Oh, goodness, the Evolution Chamber is being targeted as well. That +3 attack will be canceled. Very nice denial from Squirtle, and even picks up the Archon. So nice to save that. Ultralisk caught in the center of the field. These Immortals are really doing work. The Queens getting caught off of creep. They're quite slow. This Warp Prism now finally dealt with. There's still no anti-air to actually kill that, though. 5 Ultralisks are coming in, but with double Immortal production, eventually Squirtle's just going to have so many Immortals, he's going to just blast everything super quickly. Immortals are so good versus Zealots. It's really hard to describe to you just how good they are, but Greater Spire is coming in, so this is going to be Scarlett's ace in the hole, rebuilding those Evolution Chambers as she was denied the 3/3 upgrades. So annoying. It really makes a huge impact for those Zerglings with how fast they attack, the extra attack upgrades. And they try to get a bit of a wraparound on this Nexus. Wants to force the cancel on the 4th base. Looks like might barely be able to get it, but no, the Zealot Warp-In is in time to save it. That's actually incredibly close, Nexus. But looks like Scarlett might be looking to go for a bit of an engagement. Zealot Warp-In back in the main. And goodness, the hero Archon is... oh no, these are different Archons. Okay, that's fine. They're still going to kill everything. The spawning pool is taking a huge amount of damage. The main army is engaging the force field juice, but there's another recall. He doesn't have to fight Scarlett's army. He can just warp in and he says, well, yeah, I'm doing all the damage I need to do without even fighting your army. And it's quite nice because he can still continue to just mix in all of these Immortals. These many Immortals with this many Archons is so good. These Immortals are actually going to be like two-shotting these Ultras pretty soon. The Zerglings dive on the 4th base of Squirtle once again, but once again, no dice on that. And these Zerglings sent through, immediately picked off, and Scarlett suddenly looking in a pretty bad spot. I mean, Scarlett, if she gets the Broodlords out, it could work. But this Warp Prism is so active. He knows about this. He sees the Greater Spire. He knows what's coming. There's the Stargate immediately added on. Double Stargate. Trying to prepare for the Broodlords a little bit. And Scarlett's scared of actually this, not just the fact that there's Zealots, but the potential of the actual army coming out. All of these Immortals. I mean, a Fungal Growth and a Zergling Surround could do wonders versus this. It all comes down to the positioning and just what kind of trade Scarlett can get. And it's actually really important that she keeps the creep spread out as well. She needs to know when the army comes and where it comes from. Warp Prism is trying to move back towards the main base as this main army from Squirtle presses the right side. I love this position. The Immortals can fire from the low ground, and the Ultras are going to try to come in. Actually catches this army quite well split up, but the Immortals just do so much damage versus the Ultras. Are the Ultras going to be able to get enough surface area? I don't think so. The Stalker reinforcements come in with the Zealots, and Scarlett's army is completely eviscerated. There's so much here. Squirtle takes game number 1 in this best of 3 with just some very smart, patient play.